All right, let's just get straight into it. Today's explainer is going to take us down a really intense, honestly kind of terrifying rabbit hole. We are exploring the mirror worlds of artificial intelligence. It's a journey that actually starts in the highly competitive arenas of digital video games, but then crosses over into the visceral, incredibly high-stakes reality of modern geopolitical conflict. The lines between a virtual simulation and an actual combat zone, they aren't just blurring anymore, they're being entirely erased. So think about this for a second. You know the tech that completely breaks your favorite video game? The aimbots, the wall hacks? What happens when you take that exact same algorithmic code used by players to cheat and dominate in a digital war zone, weaponize it, and just hand it the reins to a real-world battlefield? We are not talking about theoretical concepts here. The exact same underlying technology that automatically locks onto digital enemies in a game is right now actively powering actual kinetic weapons. It's this eerie cyberpunk reality unfolding right in front of us. And to understand how we got here, we kind of have to look at the fundamental limits of the human body. Picture yourself holding a perfect angle in a game like Valorant or Call of Duty. You react instantly, but you still lose. Why does that happen? Because the absolute ceiling of human biological reflex is roughly 200 milliseconds. The AI vision system playing on the other side, that operates at a staggering 10 milliseconds. Biological reflexes are literally obsolete against machine calibration now. You aren't fighting a better human, you're fighting an algorithm that has already mathematically won the fight before your brain even registers the pixels shifting on your screen. Now, we aren't talking about those old-school cheat codes you used to just download. This relies on what's called Direct Memory Access, or DMA cards. It's physical hardware that takes computer vision models, things like the YOLO object detection system, and offloads them to a completely separate computer. That secondary computer literally watches the video feed of the game just like human eyes do, identifies human shapes, and physically simulates the perfect aim. It treats the digital space as a physical environment, which completely bypasses the game's internal security. This whole setup has totally shattered the integrity of competitive gaming. Because it bypasses traditional kernel-level anti-cheats, developers are pretty much in full panic mode. These advanced setups cost upwards of $400 just for the custom hardware. To even spot the AI now, security systems had to completely abandon simple file scanning and move to behavioral biometrics. They are literally hunting for microjitters and slight imperfections in a player's mouse movement just to prove they are a breathing human. But you know, the real story here isn't about gaming. It's about where this technology goes next. Because when we map out the theoretical OODA loop, that's observe, orient, decide, act, and compare it to Palantir's actual AI-driven targeting interface, the overlap is genuinely chilling. The exact same computer vision models that identify a sniper in a digital war zone are synthesizing real-world drone feeds to identify enemy combatants. The digital logic and the physical application have completely synchronized. We have officially crossed the threshold here. We are stepping out of the digital war zone of an online multiplayer lobby and straight into the visceral, highly contested reality of actual 21st century warfare. The convergence of consumer extended reality, Silicon Valley big tech, and the global military apparatus is just staggering. The tech that was originally designed to immerse us in a digital fantasy is now being repurposed to command the lethal realities of the modern battlespace. Let me just read you this quote. We're proud to partner with Anduril to help bring these technologies to the American service members that protect our interests at home and abroad. That is Mark Zuckerberg, the CEO of Meta. The lines between social media, hardware, virtual reality headsets, and military command, they've completely dissolved. Consumer technology giants are now openly and actively integrating their platforms with advanced defense contractors to basically build the future of warfare. So what does a partnership like that actually produce? Well, it builds systems like Enduril's Eagle Eye. This is an integrated system that straps mission command and artificial intelligence directly onto the head of a soldier. It rapidly processes sensor data, identifies threats, and initiates countermeasures, all in real time. We are taking the exact same real-time AI vision logic that dominates a video game screen and putting it right into the warfighter's helmet. It's literally a heads-up display for a real-world battlefield. This right here represents the command architecture of 21st century warfare. The Pentagon and allied forces aren't just looking for better guns anymore. They are looking for what they call decision superiority. They are desperately racing to collapse the decision cycle, to observe, orient, decide, and act infinitely faster than their adversaries through pure computational advantage. It's no longer about who has the most troops, it's entirely about who has the most efficient data processing. And the sheer scale of the arms race funding this is staggering. If we look at a US defense AI budget forecast, the 2020 request was sitting at less than $1 billion. By 2025, that requested budget nearly doubled to $1.8 billion. The capital flooding into these dual-use AI ecosystems is astronomical, mostly because governments understand that to fall behind in algorithmic processing is to essentially surrender the future battlefield completely. And standing right at the absolute forefront of this monumental shift is Palantir Technologies. They are building the AI-led command infrastructure that fuses real-time data out on the battlefield. Through programs like the Maven Smart System for NATO, they're actively redefining warfare. They are essentially providing the digital nervous system that takes thousands of chaotic, fragmented data points and magically synthesizes them into clean, actionable targets on a digital map. Out in the field, this concept manifests as decision intelligence, or DI. War is fundamentally chaotic, right? It's filled with human intent, deception, and extreme uncertainty. Well, DI steps in to synthesize vast amounts of unstructured data instantly, giving commanders high-confidence outputs. By fusing real-time drone feeds and sensor data, it completely outpaces the enemy's computational advantage. Algorithms are fundamentally shifting the ultimate authority away from a human commander's gut intuition, straight into the realm of cold, calculated machine inference. But this brings us to a really profound, honestly eerie question about modern conflict. As systems like Ukraine's Delta platform fuse drones and AI into this resilient architecture, the rest of the world is watching very closely. And we have to ask, at what point does a geopolitical conflict just become a live-fire testing ground? At what point are these newly purchased, state-of-the-art AI weapons being tested on people in a war theater that ultimately has nothing to do with the observing governments, just so they can see their expensive new toys in action? It's a dark, cyberpunk reality where a live battlefield acts as the ultimate performance review for autonomous defense systems. And the defense industry is gearing up for exactly that reality on an industrial scale. Private companies like Endural are actively constructing facilities like Arsenal One. This isn't just some workshop. This is a hyperscale manufacturing facility specifically designed for the mass production of autonomous weapons and software-defined drones. The ultimate goal is to churn out intelligent algorithmic weaponry at a pace and scale that traditional legacy defense contractors simply can't even dream of matching. This is a total paradigm shift in military doctrine. Think about Cold War-era strategy. It was based on large, rigid, hierarchical formations. It was very slow and deliberate. The new AI-native doctrine, it is fluid, it's modular, and it's entirely algorithmically directed. It acts at the absolute velocity of information. The future of survival on the modern battlefield depends entirely on fielding this adaptive ecosystem of sensors and autonomous drones. Basically, if you are rigid, you are targeted. So as we stare down this cyberpunk reality, we really have to confront the eerie void where human ethics collide with machine efficiency. As AI gains the capacity to not just assist, but to actively make lethal decisions, what are the ethical, legal, and operational challenges? We are deploying systems that are capable of identifying and prioritizing human targets in milliseconds. The technology is moving exponentially faster than our regulatory frameworks can even draft the paperwork to govern them. I really want you to ponder this for a second. How on earth do we balance the absolute need for national security with the preservation of human rights? When an algorithm processes a drone feed and flags a location as a hostile threat with 99% certainty, what happens to human nuance? What happens to the preservation of life when outsourcing lethal decisions to a black box is simply deemed the more efficient path to victory? And that pushes the tension even further when we talk about accountability. If a drone strikes a target based purely on a machine's high-confidence algorithmic output, who is actually pulling the trigger? Is it the commander who approved the software, the engineer back in Silicon Valley who trained the model, or the algorithm itself? When the fog of war gets replaced by the black box of artificial intelligence, assigning moral and legal responsibility becomes nearly impossible. Because there are some extreme risks hiding inside all this processing power. For one, these systems handle human deception incredibly poorly. The sheer volume of data actively dilutes human judgment, creating this severe automation bias where commanders simply trust the machine because it's faster. Add in the risks of cyber manipulation and deepfakes tricking the AI, and you have a massive powder keg. All while international legal frameworks remain entirely gridlocked over how to even define an autonomous weapon in the first place. Now, militaries always talk about human-in-the-loop mandates, meaning a real person has to approve the final strike. But scholars are warning that physical presence alone does not equal meaningful agency. When a screen flashes red and tells a commander they have exactly 3 seconds to strike a high-probability threat, they aren't making a decision, they're just rubber stamping an algorithm. The human operator is quickly becoming a mere procedural appendage to the machine, which leaves us right here. The big challenge ahead of us? It isn't about building smarter or faster machines anymore. That tech is already here, from the video game lobbies all the way to the hyperscale drone factories. The real challenge is ensuring that these machines make human commanders wiser, not entirely obsolete. As we continue to fuse algorithms with lethality, we have to ask ourselves, are we mastering this technology to protect our future, or are we simply letting it master us? Thanks for joining me on this explainer. I'll see you in the next one.